Hey, in this video I'm going to tell you about the 3 requirements for success that every single successful person has and does. And I'm going to tell you also how to develop these to make sure you succeed and achieve your goals or solve any problem that you may have. And if you don't have them, at one point it will become so hard and so difficult for you to keep going that you will give up and you will regret for the rest of your life not having these 3 things, or not having followed through these 3 things. And you'll waste also so much time while you achieve your goals that you will not make any meaningful progress toward them. So these 3 requirements for success are like extremely useful. I've noticed them again this week in my life, and this is why I'm talking to you about this now. And yeah, it's going to be very, very useful. And I'm going to tell you also how to develop them throughout the stories that I'm going to tell you so that you get them in the right way to actually apply them. If you're new here, my name is Ivaldi Sako. I'm the founder of alreadygrowth.com, and here I help ambitious entrepreneurs build an empire, live a great life, an awesome life that is worth suffering for, because life is a lot of suffering and we might as well make it worth it. And I want to really help you become truly free and successful and have an awesome life, because I know this is what I want, and I document here what I learn every week to help you do that. So if you're interested in that and you want to grow, listen, this is the podcast for you. Like, this is the channel for you. You can subscribe right now to not forget and miss the next episode, because it's going to be tremendously useful to you. So let's get into this. The first lesson that I learned, and it's going to be, I'm going to tell you at the end of the stories, I'm going to tell you the things, the requirements for success. So it makes sense at the end to really like absorb them and not just have the 3 things. Like you could watch basically a short video to have just the 3 things. But here I want to help you actually implement these and change really your life. And if you learn, that means that you change your behavior. And to help you change your behavior, I'm going to tell you how I noticed these things. So the first thing I noticed when I was talking at the gym to 2 friends of mine, and these are all old friends, and I was talking about them. One of them has just quit his job, and he's wondering what to do right now with his life. And I was like, have you ever wondered starting a business? He was like, yeah, dude. I really like, I was actually starting to start a business. I was dabbling into it. I was trying to do e-commerce, and I had even a course, and I started doing something, and I even already made money with my, with a side hustle. And I was like, well, you know what to do then, right? You just like, let's go, let's get to it. Like, if you like it, why not do it? And he was like, yeah, but I don't know. I need I'm not sure. I'm not too much about it, and I needed more. I need more discipline, and that's not the thing. It's not discipline, even though it surely is important to success. But this is not what I'm talking to you about right now. And then I had the same day and the same actually workout, I met another friend. It's been a while I hadn't talked to him, and he was also at a job, and now he was telling me, okay, how his business going, and I told him, and it was like, we got a client yesterday, or I was telling him about what was going on in my business, and he was like, oh wow, well, this is motivating. Like, I want to do the same thing. I want to make money as well, and I can't make this kind of money with my job. And I was like, well, have you ever thought about starting a business? And he was like, well, yeah, I keep thinking about it. But I don't know. Like, I never tried it. And then I asked him, like, what sort of business have you thought of starting? He was like, I wanted to start a clothing line, and I had some idea and everything, but I don't know, like, it was like a risk, and I did not know, I was not sure. And then I told him, well, listen, you could just do a pre-sale. You could do you could reduce the risk so much that it makes sense for you to start. That you just with as little risk as possible. Like, right, you could just launch a Shopify store, run some ads, do some content, and that's it, without actually creating the product, actually selling before creating the product, so that you don't have to have all of this production and having stocks. I don't know if you can say stocks. No, all these inventory, right? You don't have to buy bulk inventory and have all these like big heavy investments and creating the design and thinking about the actual fabric of the clothing line. Just try to sell the idea first and see if there's demand for it. If there's demand for it, then you can actually take the money from your clients and tell them, hey, thank you. It's going to take a little bit more time, and yeah, we're going to try to make this as fast as possible for you. But it's just being able to communicate with them, just to, you know, manage expectations with their clients. But therefore, like this way, he doesn't have to have much risk. And it was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And I was like, that's why you didn't start. You don't know. Like, you need to know to start. Successful people are decisive. Like, decisiveness is really important. Like, both of my friends there, they were not decisive. And this is why they're still, like, not doing anything. They had, like, one of them has started a business. He had started to make money with the business, but he was not decided. He was not decisive enough to know, okay, I'm going to do this, and it's going to work. Let's go. Let's get full on in. Because he didn't know. He was not sure. He was undecisive. And I know this because I was so undecisive, and still am sometimes. And this is the worst thing they can do, like taking a lot of time to make decisions. Even like, this is a micro decision that you can take, and you need to be decisive with this, because it's like, you need to like just make a decision. Because if you don't make a decision, the decision that you're making is just to not make this decision. It keep going with what you're currently doing. And so you Jim Rohn says this, like, life is risky, right? You don't want to take a risk here making this decision to launch this business, but life is risky. Like, you're choosing to, like, you're already choosing to bet on a risky choice, and it's life. You've chosen to live. And so life is a lot of risks. And there's a lot of if in life. So you don't know what's going to happen, but you still decided to live. You just, like, you're here. So you might as well do something that you want to do. Especially this other guy that wanted to go do this clothing line. I felt like he was like, he really wanted to do this, but he just didn't decide. He just didn't decide. And at the end of our conversation, he said, you know what, you gave me some things to think about. I was like, you already thought about this. Like, there's not much to think about. There's just like a decision to be made. That's it. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. And I don't know if he's gonna make a decision on that, but you gotta be decisive. And it's decisive, like, even if you right now have a business, you need to be decisive, because there's like small decisions that you, like, sometimes, for example, me this week, I decided to I needed to cut my hair this week. And at one point I had some, like, things to do, and I didn't know if I should cut my hair right now or do it later on, maybe tomorrow. I had, like, some things to do, and I planned to do it, to cut my hair at one point. But I was like, I have this thing to do, and I started to be undecisive about it. I started to worry, is this the best choice? But I realized a little too late. Like, in 20 minutes after I started thinking about this, I was still, like, hesitating. Should I cut my hair now or not? And this decision had no importance whatsoever. It's like, there was nothing important about it. Like, it didn't make any difference that I didn't cut my hair at this moment, or I did cut my hair at this moment. And yet, in this small decision that we sometimes take a little bit of time, and it just makes us waste so much time. And then we act with less confidence. And when you act with less confidence, you don't take massive actions. You take a little bit of action here and there. And let me tell you, I watched this movie, Extraction, with Chris Hemsworth. It's on Netflix, and I watched it, and it's like a war movie with a guy trying to save a kid from some drug dealers or something, and it's a very, like, it's an action movie, right? And in the movie, Chris Hemsworth, he's just, like, trying to like he's doing a lot of things. He's doing a lot of actions. This is why maybe we call it action movies. He's taking a lot of actions. Like he reloads his gun. He just shoots 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys at the same time, and then the one comes behind him. He kind of like he just fights with him, and then he makes sure the kid is well. And he's doing a lot of things in urgency, big time, and he's just decisive. If he's not decisive in this moment and takes massive actions, he's dead. He's just dead. And in business, it's the same thing. If you don't make the decisions quickly and act fast and with massive actions, you're going to be so slow. You're barely going to make any progress, and it's like you're basically dying. If you're not making like this fast progress, you're basically like doing slow progress, and these slow progress ultimately with the market and with everybody, like just everything changes so fast right now, especially with AI. You're going to get like left behind. So it's really important that you are decisive. Even if you make the wrong decisions, it's best to make the wrong decisions fast and learn from them and be able to pivot. And then after that, you take the right decision. But if you take too much time, you don't even have the time to get feedback. Like your competition has already taken 2 feedback and improved and made the right decision while you didn't take a single decision. This is why it's really critical to be decisive. The second thing is, I went to Paris this week. I actually told the people that listened to my last podcast, my last episode, that I was going to try to use my current opportunities. I talked about Tom Brady, right? And how he succeeded by actually just taking the opportunity and going full on in with the opportunities that he had currently in his hands with the cards that he was dealt, right? And I was like, okay, what are the opportunities that I'm not taking advantage of that I have right now? And I live 1 hour aside from Paris, and I never go there. And so I decided to go. And so I went. And I went there, and at one point I enter McDonald's. And McDonald's in Paris, in the Champs-Élysées, there's like a security guard in front of it, right? And it's like a tall black dude, a tall black security guard. And before I was going to enter, there's an old lady, a British lady, I think. And she was going to enter, and I was going to enter at the same time. I didn't see her. And then I saw that I was going to enter before her, and she wanted to enter as well. She wanted to like come in as well. And so I was like, oh, come in, like go ahead. After you. And I said that in French. Allez-y, je vous en prie. Before you. After you, right? This is what you say when you just ask the person to go inside before you. And then she was like, no, it's okay. I was like, no, go ahead. And I insisted. And I was like, this is normal. Like, this is my education. This is what I think is normal. Like, this is an old person. I want to let her in before. She's a lady. She's a woman. I was like, this is my something that is normal to me, right? And the black dude, the black security guard, was like, he was like putting his hands on his heart and was like, thank you, brother, thank you, I appreciate that. And I didn't do this for him. I did this for the old lady. I thought it was normal. And he was like, thank you, brother, thank you really much. And then I entered. I was like, you're welcome. And I entered, and he told me like, thank you. I see you. You had a really great education. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. And this kind of like, I was happy that he said that. He was really like an awesome guy. But I was like, how come this is not normal? Like, this was normal to me. And I was like, nobody does this anymore, right? He never sees this. Like, he sees like thousands of people and come and go from this McDonald's in Paris, and nobody does that, right? People are really like going fast and just care about themselves. And he saw like a guy like this, and he was so happy. And this is an example of a personal standard that I have. This is a personal standard. Like, people don't have any more like a standard for what to stand for, and a standard of what is normal to them, right? And this is a personal standard that is in relationship with the people that you encounter, but there's a personal standard you can have as well for yourself. So this is also for me, like, it makes me feel good to be kind to other people and be a gentleman and let an old lady pass before me. But you have to be able to have a standard to have impulse control, for example, as well. Like, this is extremely important. Like, your personal standards define you. If you don't have personal standards, you just, I don't know what you're gonna do. You always have personal standards, but sometimes you don't have the right ones. And one of them to me that is difficult to keep is to not say yes to the thought that enters my mind to just a little bit more, right? Just a little bit more. Like, so when you have this thought, this is the beginning of addiction. And I know, like, for me, for example, I went to Paris, I started eating sugar, for example, and I ate out. And I was like, I had this thought in my mind. I was like, just a little bit more. And I started to eat a little bit more. And you know what? I always go down the rabbit hole. I always eat way too much more. And this opens up, like, the door to addiction. Unfortunately for me, I have some rules. And these are a part of my personal standards. My personal standards, there's like rules to me, and there's like things that I do that are normal, that I think it's normal. For example, every day I work 4 hours deeply on my business. So it's like, this is a standard to me. Like, this is an irrefutable standard. Like, this is a norm. If I don't do this, I feel bad. You can also consider it like it's a thermostat, right? A thermostat, maybe it's like 77 degrees outside, and the thermostat, if you regulate it to 80 degrees inside, no matter how the outside, how hot is the outside, or how cold is the outside, it's going to like regulate, it's going to go up again to 80 degrees or go down to 80 degrees. And so you have a personal standard, a personal thermostat that you can regulate as well. You think a certain level of behavior is acceptable, a certain level of behavior is non-acceptable. To me, a behavior that is non-acceptable is seeing an old lady that wants to pass in front of me and not letting her, right? Not being this gentleman, like just acting like a gentleman. Okay, there you go. Go ahead. You first. And being kind to people. Like, this is a personal standard. If I go below that, I feel bad. I feel bad, like I was bad to this old lady. Like, why did I do this? I feel bad about myself. Because my thermostat is at a certain threshold. You're gonna have a thermostat to a level of action that you take, a level of urgency that you have, a level of standards that you have for your health, for example. I must, like, if I don't go to the gym at least 6 times a week, I feel very bad about myself. Like, if I miss a day, I don't feel good about myself. This is not me. Like, this is what is going on. So this is my personal standard. In business, in health, in your relationships, in all the little actions that you do, there's like standards that you have. You don't accept like less than that. And so you also, you never really reach your highest dreams. You reach your personal, like, you always are on the long term, on a long enough timeline, you come back to your personal standards. You don't reach, like, you're not always performing at this highest level that you can conceive of. But you fall down to the thing that you can accept, right? If you accept to be distracted 2 hours a day, you're going to be distracted 2 hours a day. If you have absolute no, like, you cannot accept any distraction whatsoever, you're not gonna get distracted. And sometimes you're gonna be so focused that it's insane. But at the lowest time, you're barely going to get distracted because it's a standard. You keep this even in the hard times. And there's a power to have these standards, because these when you accumulate standards like this, it creates your identity, right? Your identity is also shaped by your standards, your beliefs, your thoughts that you have on a daily basis, and the way you think about the way you perceive the world, and how things work out, basically, and how you view yourself from like the outside. And so when you have this, when you have a good one, when you have a high standard, a high personal standard, like, you go fast and you achieve your goals fast. And successful people do that. Successful people don't have like the bad day of a very successful person. Like, it's your best, like, it's something that you can't even imagine. Like, you would dream of having this level of productivity, this level of performance on your best day, and for them, it's their worst day. And this is the point that you want to get to. You want to get to a point where you're sick, where you're tired, when you're like done and you're just not motivated, you still do the things so good because you have this personal standard that even in those times you succeed, even in those times you get things done. And this is where you want to go. It's very hard. It's very hard to get to this place, but the way you do it is just by trying. It's just by deciding, okay, and reflecting. Journaling, for example, is a great way to just see, okay, what did I do this week? You know, all these things that I talk about in these in this episode, in these videos, are just things that I write down. If I don't write things down after the end of the day, at the end of the day, I just write things down of what I learned, what I noticed this week, that was what I noticed this day, and then I make a recap at the end of the week. And so, yeah, personal standard. What would be for you a personal standard that you want to get to? Maybe for me, I'm trying to get my personal standard to sleep at 8:30. I cannot get myself to sleep at 8:30 p.m. every single day. I can't. I don't know. There's something that I need to prioritize, which is eating early enough and be okay not working anymore to sleep at 8:30 and be able to wake up earlier, therefore, and just be able to get more done in my early morning, in my early hours, because I'm more productive during these hours. A personal standard could also be a value, right? I don't lie. I just simply, I always tell the truth. And I don't lie to myself either, right? Because sometimes you just tempted to lie to yourself. Okay, it's not a problem, right? And yeah, a personal standard could also be in your finances. I must have this amount of money in my bank account. If I go below that, I don't feel good. Now, if I go above that, I'm pretty good. And so I start spending up again. And this puts me back into my personal standard, right? While I was in Paris, I went on and tried a Rolex, right? I went to Rolex and asked to try one. I was like, I want to, I'm starting to make money. I was like, maybe I get myself one. Actually, I would want one, but one that is a lot harder to get. And I guess I want this one because it's a lot harder to get. Like, just because it is harder to get, I want this one. So I tried one, and I know the old me would have been like, whoa, what is this? I have $16,000 on my wrist. Oh, what's this? And to me, like, I went there, it was like, okay. I think my personal standard was like, I raised it. And so it's not a big deal to me anymore, right? The old me, it has to do, of course, with the money that you're making. But even that, it's the experience, right? When you go in Rolex, like, they put you, then you're just like, there's someone that pours you, like, if you ask, like, if you want a coffee or something, they actually, like, they have a service, right? For free. And yeah, they talk to you, and the way when you enter, at least in Paris, this is how it is. You basically, like, enter in a Rolex store, and you have like 5-10 salespeople looking at you and just, hello sir, how are you? Hello, thank you. That's just great. This is their standard, right? Rolex has a standard of service that they want to give you so that you feel this luxury feel of the watch, right? You have this great experience. And also, they make their watch extremely expensive because they actually manufacture, like they control actually like the offer and demand. Like they reduce so much how much they increase so much the friction towards you actually being able to get the watch that you want, right? I was like, okay, if I were to get this watch right now, how would we go about it? And he was like, oh, you can't. Oh, you can't. I was like, what? Like, let's say I was like, in 3 to 6 months, I would like to have this watch. Let's say, how would we go about it? It was like, oh, I can't promise you this. I was like, even in 6 months? He was like, oh yeah, we have a 14,000 people list, and if you want it right now and you get yourself on the buyers list, you might have it in the year, right? And this is they increase the desire that you have for the watch. Even though this watch I didn't like, as soon as I put it on my wrist, actually I was like, huh, I don't want it anymore. I was like, okay, it's cool, it's a little heavy, you can feel it's quality, but I wanted like the one that was even like more scarce. Anyway, this was a tangent on like the personal standard that Rolex offers that creates their brand. And a personal standard also is like when when I was saying to you, don't say yes to just a little bit, right? Your ability to control, to have this impulse control, to not say yes, and to sit with the feeling of, I need to do this, I need to have this piece of cake, I need to have this donut, I need to eat more, I need to check social media, I need to go just a little bit, like just scrolling a little bit more. And you say yes, boom, that's it, you're down the rabbit hole. And most of the time, it's the case. And you have to raise your personal standard to like either say no immediately, or have this personal standard a little lower, so that maybe you put yourself a rule. I could say yes sometimes, but it will be just for 5 minutes. And this is a critical, like, you must respect this rule, right? It's written down on paper. It's written, like, maybe it's on your phone and you have a timer for the app, and you have just 5 minutes on it. And when the 5 minutes are done, boom, that's it. You can't go there anymore. But I find it a lot easier to stop when you didn't start, right? Just don't go there in the first place. And yeah. Now the third thing. The third thing is something that you cannot. It's very hard to be decisive when you don't have this one. Like, this third requirement for success is a requirement for the first thing, which is decisiveness. When you're decisive, basically you're just trusting. You're trusting that it's all going to go okay. It's all going to be all right. You will figure it out. This is very important. Like, if you believe that you will figure it out, you can be decisive. And this belief comes with your ability to just think of the times and, brainwash yourself with, like, remembering, like, repeating in your mind the memories of when you figured something out. Because you were not able to do something at one point, and then you were able to do it. You were able to find the answer to it on the spot. Or maybe you're training, right? And you have been able to figure things out multiple times. And once you do this, it basically creates a skill, which allows you to be decisive in a certain area. Now, to do this with all areas, it's very difficult. In all areas of life, I mean. It's very difficult to be decisive in general, in life. And your business in general, right? Because there's a lot of circumstances that you don't know. Like, you don't know much about. And you can do your best to gather information and gather data, but sometimes it's not enough. You still need to be making decisions fast and be able to trust that it will be fine. It will be okay. And I find that for me, the best thing to do to be decisive, the best thing that helped me to be decisive is faith. Faith. Faith is so important, and a lot of successful people have it. I'm thinking of Ed Milet. He like his always saying, like, he takes, for example, his confidence and his faith and his good intentions, and then in his abilities, right? You have abilities, which allows you to be confident, because basically faith allows you to be confident, and being confident allows you to be decisive. And really I believe the root cause, that the one thing that if you did have will make everything else easier or unnecessary and make you do so much progress toward like any areas of your life, is faith. Having faith that it will work out, having faith that it will actually go well. And to me, it's not having faith in yourself, right? Having faith in yourself, sometimes you will make errors. We are humans, right? And so you will easily find proofs that you are sometimes not trustworthy, right? You are sometimes you make mistakes. It happens. And sometimes you're not, you don't feel like you're a genuinely good person. Sometimes you make mistakes and you regret things that you did do or did say, and you were mean at some point, but you didn't mean to be mean. And when you have faith in yourself, it's limited. But when you have faith in something outside, bigger than you, it's unlimited. And I'm thinking of faith in God. Faith in God. Or maybe if you're not Christian, if you're not a believer in God, I'm Christian. I believe in God and Jesus Christ. And I think this is the thing that helped me. But if you believe in the universe and something bigger than you, it's also useful. Something that allows you to, if you believe in something bigger than you, that is for you, right? That is so powerful, but it works for you. It puts things in your path, in your favor, to actually make you go through what you need to go through to actually achieve your goals. Because basically you're going to, you have goals. When you have goals and you ask God for a lot of money, God will put you in circumstances of challenges to test you if you're worthy of this money, if you are able to actually make this money and sustain the lifestyle. Because some people, for example, they want wealth, but if they did have wealth, they tell you that, once I'm a millionaire, I'll be able to cool it back and never work a day of my life. Well, that's why God don't give you $1 million, because it's not good for you to stop working at all and to be lazy. It's not good for you. You will be basically this money will destroy you, and so you don't want to, God will not give you something that you're not ready for. If you ask God for something, He's going to give you the challenge to prove yourself to do this. But you need faith. You need faith to actually follow through. You need to know that it's God's plan, putting you through these difficult moments to be able to achieve your goal, to be able to actually become the type of person that is capable of achieving your goal. Because right now, you most likely can't. Your current self most likely can't achieve your goals. But the becoming self, the person that you can become, it's you need to become this person first to be able to achieve your new goals. If you're not currently making $10 million, you can't, because you're not the person capable of doing this. But if you become the person capable of doing this with the actions and the habits and the beliefs, the skills that is capable of doing this, you will actually go through it and actually make $10 million. And the other reason why it's important to have faith, it's because it's going to allow you to actually keep going. If you know at one point it will happen. At one point, it's my time. At one point, I will become better. And I promise you, when you really pray God and you ask Him really like deeply, and you really think about it, and you really imagine like God talking to you, and you stay in silence, because this is where you meet God. You meet God in the silence, in the desert, right? This is in the Bible. You listen to the silence, and sometimes you have some ideas that come into your mind. And this could be God telling you, okay, this is where you need to go. And He will not only help you solve your problems, but it's also like the only way to me to just not give up. Unless you really have no other way around. But at some point it just becomes too hard for you to keep going on your own. I believe that you have the need for something bigger than yourself, to actually make you follow through the hard times, to actually get to your goals. And another thing that I think was very useful to me, it's this morning I read a passage from the Bible. And it's funny because I do this every day, and every day it gives me like some inspiration to have like something that to act on, right? And to learn by actually changing my behavior. So this morning, it was the idea of when Jesus was expelling demons from people that were like possessed, right? Now, if you believe it or not, it's still going to be useful to you. And the Pharisees, I don't know if you call them like this in English or not, but basically the people in his time that were not with him, they were saying, how does he cast demons? He must be from Satan. He must be like the enemy himself to be able to command his people to like stop doing their work, right? Basically, like Satan commands demons, and he was expelling demons. They were saying like he is from Satan, and then to answer them and to tell them like, okay, how could I be from Satan? If Satan destroys himself, then he will not sustain. He will not be able to continue, because if inside a home, if there's an enemy inside the home will destroy itself, and the home will just not exist anymore at one point. If Satan destroys himself, he will just perish. So I can't be doing this from Satan. And basically, this made me think of the famous quote: "If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm." And basically, the personal standard, the decisiveness, the faith, all these things are internally. And when you don't have decisiveness, you have undecisiveness. Yeah, like you're undecisive, and this is an enemy that is within, because you have doubt inside yourself. You have fear inside of yourself, and these things prevent you from having faith, from being decisive, and from having these personal standards. And you have this enemy inside of you that is trying to get you to just a little bit more, and just erase your personal standards. And so if you can control the enemy inside, which is you are inside of you trying to sabotage yourself, which I think I did an episode on this, maybe the last one or the one before that, on self-sabotage. And I really suggest that you listen to it, you watch it. It's going to be extremely useful to you to just stop limiting yourself and just preventing yourself being the enemy inside of yourself that constantly sabotage yourself. I think it's going to be very useful to you. And so I'll let you with this. Go listen to this one, and I'll see you there. Take care. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to subscribe, right?